You are watching The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
Right here.
Hey, welcome back to the Friday thing.
Oh, it's you! Hey, what's up? Hey, good to see you.
Congrats, everybody.
Where have you been?
Steve, why do you keep Zooming me at 5 o'clock on Friday? What is happening?
What is happening?
And why are you always right there?
You can tell Kara hasn't shaved in a bit.
Yes. And she bleached her hair.
She bleached her hair.
When are these salons going to open, damn it? I mean, when is it? When can I go back to get a decent cut and a trim? When,
George,
Steve?
what
Tell
color
me.
was your
I
head
haven't
hair,
gotten
by
any
the way?
trim either, George. Don't you know?
George, what color was your head hair?
Oh,
It was actually close to. It was actually kind of blondish, kind of. I mean, it's all browned out, but yeah. I mean, I don't know anymore. I don't remember. What was it like before? What was anything like before, Jay?
I know, right?
What was anything like 8 weeks ago? Do you remember what the
Seriously.
sun looked like? I don't even remember.
It was better than what we're dealing with right now, I'll tell you that much.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So the thing that blew my mind this week, since we last spoke, was the fact that these protests are getting violent now.
Yeah.
How
And did you-
violent?
Like,
Well, they're
fist fighting. There's fist fights
threatening.
happening.
They're getting more violent, threatening.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And did we expect less?
Well, it's, it's,
I mean,
it's
it could
scary.
only go from order to chaos.
And
right?
what's
You understand
happening?
that.
Did you guys know that many of the people who bring these assault rifles literally have ammo with them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, it doesn't fire if you don't bring ammo, Jay.
I know, but the point is, it's not just a show of force. It's that they're there like with ammunition, whether it's in the gun or not. That's way too close to a horrible thing happening in my
It's
book.
just cosplay. It's just wimpy cosplay. Unbelievable.
It's puffing the chest out. It is.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, worldwide
bullets.
4.6 million confirmed cases.
Yeah.
The number's probably higher. Over 300,000 deaths. Over 83,000 in the U.S. The numbers are still climbing. So George, this is our first time doing the Friday thing with you. So what hobbies have you picked up during lockdown? Anything?
No, I'm just dropping them all. Actually, I'm just sort of sitting in the corner, shaking with my thumb in my mouth and the other thumb in my ear,
Other orifice,
and I just
What bad habits have you picked up?
It's funny, guys. Before we get deep into the show here, people have been talking about Zoom looking like Brady Bunch. When you have all the tiered stuff, and I realized that it's not so much. I mean, it does look like Brady Bunch a little bit, but when you have more than like 6 or 9 or however many squares are in the 9 squares in the Brady Bunch, it reminded me of another show. It reminded me of an, and I thought maybe I could tell you what show it reminds me of, and if you want to sing along, maybe this would be perfect.
Make the video wavy, Steve.
Here we go. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the skeptics on the SGU tonight. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the SGU tonight. We're so glad that you all came here. It's lovely to be seen, because it's a kind of torture living in quarantine. Hey, let's get the Zoom all set up. Let's turn on all the mics. Why don't we get things started? Oh,
Hey,
yes,
Steve,
let's get things started. Let's get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, skeptic-rational, whatever. This is what we call the SGU.
Awesome.
George,
I didn't know that song was 75 years old, that we could use it.
That rocked.
Awesome.
Oh, that was great,
Is
George.
that a Wookiee or a fart?
George, you have to record
Yeah,
that for
right.
me.
Just did.
That's
Yeah,
right.
just
You
did.
just
That,
did, Jay.
that was great. Plus, I never
That
heard
was
George
great.
say whatever in a song. That was awesome.
There we go. That's better.
Dynamite,
Hi, everybody.
George.
It's me.
Oh, hi, George.
George.
Oh, hi.
So George and I were talking, and George said that he wants to play a music-based game with us tonight that he wrote. Was it for a live show or the extravaganza?
No, it's not. It's not a music-based thing. It's a questioning game. It's sort of like to see where you guys stand on certain topics. Just,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
We can do
boy.
that- we can do that at some point.
Deep
If you-
exposure.
Yeah,
I
I'd
know
love to
we're
do
always
it.
so short on conversation.
I know we have
topics.
nothing to talk about. But all right,
Nothing
but
to talk
first,
Yes,
the
Steve.
most burning question
Yeah.
that people have from last week is how was my bread making going?
Oh, yeah. That was
Yeah.
trending on Twitter, I think.
I know. So
Burning, huh? Burning?
it's a hot topic. You actually can see evidence of my bread making behind me if you have a keen eye. I'll get it in a second.
So that's a loaf you couldn't eat because it was inedible?
No, so I made a second batch of sourdough bread, and it was better than the first one. It still didn't rise. You know, the bread wasn't as fluffy as I would like, as optimal. So there's a certain technology to the sourdough starter that I'm just starting to like really figure out.
It's called the
key
oven.
is. So the quickie version is, so you make sourdough starter with flour and water. That's basically it, pretty much
Okay.
equal parts. And you got to keep feeding it over time. And so it's really easy to make a yeast culture in your starter. So that was no problem. But what I figured out is that the hard part is getting it to peak, because you have to get it to really peak, before you can use it in your dough. And I figured out that mine wasn't peaking because it was too cold. So I put it in the hottest room in the house, which is this
what, the
room.
The
bedroom?
hot house.
Oh, okay.
If I keep the window closed, this room gets hotter for whatever reason. I don't know if it's all the electronic equipment or just our stupid
Several factors.
single zone, heating system that we have here, whatever.
Yeah.
See, that's weird because I usually peak when I'm too cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, all right, so let me show you where it is. Hang on.
Ooh, Steve is getting the bread. Hey, hey, Steve is getting the bread.
George, what isn't there a song?
There
That's right there. Yeah.
is my sourdough starter.
Ooh, looks delicious.
And
Oh, boy. I gotta
Looking
zoom in on
pretty
this.
damn
Hold on.
good. So I used
Now, what do you
I
mean
need,
it's
I need
looking
a
good?
full screen on this one.
What do you mean looking good?
so it's
Indicator.
To Jay, it looks.
it's
what does it
risen
look like
about
to you, Jay?
twice as much. So
Yes.
that means it's filling with air, which means that it should about double in size when it's peaking.
Right.
So the ultimate test though is it has to float in water. So I'll do that. If it's not
So pure,
if
it
it's ready,
floats.
I'll make some dough after the show. If not,
Like
I'll
a
feed
witch.
it one more time and do it in the morning. Or sometimes it peaks. They say like 2 to 3 hours after you feed it. So I may need to feed it tonight, feed it in the morning, and then 2 to 3 hours later, then use it to make dough. Listen,
This is the beginning of a really good monster movie.
yeah.
What it shows you is something you
blurb.
you used to be able to, go to the store and pay and put down $3 for. It takes this
Yeah.
weeks of, experiment and science and
Woo.
technology and everything else to get it.
Look, you could see. I don't know if you could really see well. It's really, really.
But there is nothing
really
like
good.
homemade food.
All right, but Steve,
it is
now
it is the absolute best.
Steve,
homemade
wait,
food.
Steve, are you proving it right now?
No, this is just no.
You wouldn't want to be
Steve,
doing
would
that
you,
if you were.
you
What does
take
it smell?
how
What does
much
it
of
smell
that
like?
would you put into a loaf of bread? You take a spoonful of it? What do you do?
No, well, there's different recipes, but you would take like a cup of that, add a few cups of flour, a certain amount of water, salt. That's your basic recipe. Then you have to mix it all together. You let it do a first rising, then you fold it in, then you do a second rising, and then you bake it. So I also got a digital kitchen scale, which I didn't have before, because every recipe is like 300 milligrams of it's like all by weight, because the volume apparently is not precise enough. And I got the bowl that you're supposed to put it in when it rises. So we'll see. And I also got some yeast to make non-sourdough bread.
Good.
So we'll see how that goes. So that's my new hobby for the.
I want to
for the
make
lockdown.
straight up Italian bread with like sesame seeds on the outside. That's what I want to make.
Okay, if you make it, it's no choice but Italian bread.
All right, so I'll give you an update on my project. So I started to dig out where the foundation of the stone wall is going to go, and I may be moving it now that I started digging and poking around. I realize I might need to move it. I need to speak to someone who knows what they're doing to give me some advice, because there's a big tree right there, and I don't want to like build it too close to a tree. But I did purchase all of the tools that I need, and it ends up being about $300 worth of stuff you need to build a stone wall. You need 2 different kinds of hammers. I needed like it looks like a framing hammer that has like a pick end on one end.
Yeah,
and that's for shaping. And I need brushes to I'm learning all these techniques, basically like filling my quiver full of like what to do when you build a stone wall, how to do it. I bought shitload of cement, like 300 pounds of cement. And that's it. I'm going to start this weekend. I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
You're a Freemason, right, Jay?
I am, actually.
Do you know James Mason?
I didn't know, but I thought that when I became a Mason that I would meet him or at least get like a message from him, but no.
He doesn't.
Jay, we're very happy.
Jay.
We're very happy you've joined the club. Yes. Mr. Kaplan will see you outside. Mr.
Now, George is a stone cutter, on the other hand.
Well, yeah, sure.
So
That's a secret society.
We do.
We've all executed some type of project that we're working on during the pandemic. Bob's apparently is his decorating the area behind him.
Are we segueing to me now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Let's see what you got.
This week is obviously my pirate booty. I've got tons of this stuff. This is like the creme de la creme of the pirate booty. My favorite thing here is the coins, because clearly no human being would stack coins like that. But to make it easy, I spent many hours gluing these mothers together, and that's far more time consuming than you could possibly imagine. So that
impacts the trade value and the purity.
A worst case purity, no. A worst case scenario is, just set them back up like bowling pins. You don't need to stack a billion coins. But the gold skull, I love this gold skull. Here, all right, here's some geek creds, guys. All right.
I gotta zoom in on this.
All right, what is this?
Hold on.
All
right, that's
money from Star Trek.
What is it?
Gold press Latinum.
Gold Latinum.
Yes, gold press Latinum. Very good, Evan. And then now we've got this item here.
That's from
Indiana Jones.
There's
Maybe.
a hint.
Yes. Don't need a hint.
The head to the staff of Ra, right?
Yes.
That movie was so good.
Take away
the rest of them sucked, but that was so good.
No.
I love this.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
This is from the release of
Aladdin.
Genie movie, Aladdin movie. This is what the prop looked like.
Does Robin Williams pop out of that if you rub it?
No, I tried. No, nothing pops out. Well, something came out. It's kind of gross. But this is like the classic one, but it's plastic. It's kind of like, this is the
Definitely
iconic
plastic,
shape, right?
Right.
But plastic. This one's like metal and I just had to add it to my collection because, it fits into the booty motif.
Well, yeah, that's what a collection's all about, man.
And I got about 20,000 fake coins all over the.
Is that a Fabergé egg? What the heck is that?
This is a Christmas ornament.
You had me fooled.
That looks like some kind of like ornate, expensive thing.
Fabergé egg.
And then there's lots of these fake
I don't know.
gems.
That's fake.
Bob, have you figured out the value, like what that would be worth if it were real?
Yes, I've calculated using the amount of coins that I had, just the gold coins. I I mean, how do you put a price on that? I don't know, but just the gold, I stopped counting at $1 billion worth. If it were real.
Wow.
Retirement savings.
Making
You're
some
good.
assumptions.
So was there ever a chest full of booty like that ever in reality?
I don't know. Probably, but the whole idea of burying a treasure chest didn't really happen. That
Probably
really
not
wasn't a
burying.
thing. So much of the common pirate lore is just like from literature, right? Like walking the
Treasure
plank
Island
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Treasure Island.
But the sailors and everyone did have chests. They had foot chests. They had, the chests were a part of the ship, basically. So they were just storage compartments.
Yeah, I mean, but if they got booty, if they got money, they're out getting drunk and they're having their fun. They're not going to bury it. They will just spend it, generally speaking.
Like a drunk.
Why can't I stop watching that stupid Oak Island show where they're looking for treasure on Oak Island?
Because you haven't found the off button on your television.
Seriously, I can't. It's so awful. It's 7 seasons. It's 7 seasons of them finding nothing.
Well, give it 7 more, George. They'll find.
I'm going to, believe me, because it's.
If you want to make your own booty, it's really easy. You just find anything like a statue. This was made of wood. It's brown wood, and you just spray paint it gold and add.
It's made of wood,
and it looks like a legit thing. But I found out from a Weta special effects guy, if you want to make fake gold, you spray paint it black first, then you spray paint it gold. And that
fills in the holes, the pores.
It's because you've got subsurface scattering of light. Light just doesn't scatter off the surface. It goes down a little bit and does some scattering as well. Not terribly deep. I mean, it does it on human skin too. And that's why if you see computer graphics, the best computer graphics takes into account subsurface scattering, and that makes CG skin look like real skin and not like a plastic doll type of skin. So if you paint this black and then you put the gold over it, then you get a much more realistic type of gold. So I've got to repaint a lot of my stuff and just to test that theory. But this is a Weta guy. I trust him.
Wow.
So that's all I got. Oh, yeah. I'm not a gun guy. But I bought my best flintlock prop that I've ever seen. It's a double barrel. Ooh. So I wore this for my pirate costume last Halloween. This was definitely on my waist. And it's such a sweet little prop.
Is that the one you got at Dragon Con?
Yeah, I got this at Dragon Con. I've not seen one much better than this. It's just a beautiful thing. So, but I got so many like that. But this is the best one. Best one.
All right. So, Evan, what's your update?
Well, I do have an update. I did build our raised garden beds. That project went off fine. They are filled with some very good organic and A-level quality soil, so I am ready to go there. Jennifer went and bought the plants today. I meant to take some pictures today, but I wound up kind of working later than I thought I had to, and rushed to get home to get onto this. So next week, I will have pictures in which I will share with you the progress of our vegetable garden.
Yep, my garden's planted.
It's gonna be awesome.
Planted it 1 week ago.
Yep, we go out. Yep. The plants are bought. We're going to plant them tomorrow. We got starter plants. We're not going direct from seeds, at least at this point.
So, George, are you doing any projects?
The only thing I've started doing, I mean, it's funny, this whole thing, my days haven't been that affected. I'm normally at home during the day anyway. So I've kind of been just sort of doing what I've always done, which is basically just finding stuff to learn and do and write and whatever. But on the weekends now, they're totally open. So, and not being in front of people performing is very strange. So I've started this little YouTube series it's called 13 Songs, where I perform 13 songs all on a theme, and I talk about them. I might get into the theory of the music a little bit, or some of the trivia, or some of the background of what's going on in terms of harmony or melody or whatever. We've had 4 episodes so far. The first one was obscure 80s songs.
Yep.
And we did The Police and Sting, which was really fun. Then it was my favorite female composers. And then last night we did episode 4, which was did a trivia request. So I asked a trivia question. If you got the answer right, you got to pick the song that I played out of a list of 300 songs that I posted. So it was going great. We were doing so great. We were on YouTube and it was going so great. And then all of YouTube live comments died. Literally, we're 15 minutes into the show. It's the only show so far we've done. We're reliant on the comments because people had to answer the trivia questions in the comments, and they just died. So we ended up migrating to Facebook. So everybody went from YouTube. We went over to Facebook, and then they were answering questions on Facebook.
Sounds like a TAM.
Yeah. I have an update.
Sorry, too soon.
I have an update from Kara. Kara writes, OMG, I took a nap and set my alarm wrong.
What did I say?
I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. That was her message.
Took a nap.
She apologizes unreservedly.
So what are we going to do to Kara when she gets on?
Real pretend to be frozen.
Glitches.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Frozen. That's what we're doing.
How? We don't know when she's going to join us.
Okay, what you do is just stop moving. Right?
But Ian, do you have control on when she hits the airwaves? Or
no, she'll click
but
the
you'll
link.
see her.
Yeah,
is airwaves still a thing, by the way? Am I allowed to say airwaves? Or is that
intertubes.
Is that like TV antenna? Like kind of nobody knows what the hell that is.
Yeah, right. Got to be in mid reaction.
She said 10 minutes, George.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm practicing.
Yeah,
That's all it takes. 10 minutes.
George's method. You don't understand.
Yeah, that's right.
When he gets,
I'm deep in the frozen thing. Yeah, because it's. Yeah.
So George, you have a trivia thing for us.
Well, we'll do it when
so
Kara.
much.
When
Yeah,
Kara
let's do it with
gets on.
Kara. Let's wait for her. So if that's cool.
let's wait.
So what
Yeah.
what is it? Just
Want to
cool
answer a
trivia-
couple questions?
Trivia
or?
facts?
It's not trivia. It's all personal. It's all personal behavior.
Oh,
It's all about.
Oh, we're
personal-
psychoanalysts. Cool.
So
Yes.
are you gonna comment on our eccentricities?
I'm not going to comment, but maybe you will each comment on each other. Perhaps maybe that's as we go through this, it'll be sort of it'll be hopefully revealing somewhat of your personal characters.
Wow.
Maybe people can play at home as well on some level,
Oh,
but
boy.
the people they're sitting there watching this with. But yeah, it's fun. It's a little.
Supposedly there are watch parties that occur for this, so
Yeah.
which is cool.
is anybody daydreaming about what they're going to do when the world is back to normal to some degree? Because I do have a short list of
everybody.
things.
I'm going to hug everybody for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a big one. The physical contact thing. I mean, I'm in a house full of kids, and I'm being physically assaulted at all times during the day. But I haven't seen my mom in 2 months.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough. Yeah, family stuff.
I
is
haven't
rough.
seen her in like a half hour, man.
My mom.
How about talk about? Sorry to interrupt, Jay, but talk about hugging. Ms. Info's father passed away.
Yeah.
So she
Oh,
and
yeah.
her sisters. She and her three sisters. There's 4 sisters in that family. They had to go to the funeral and they couldn't hug each other.
Right.
So they're all like social distance. It was like Italian family, 4 sisters
Yeah,
at the
forget it.
father's funeral couldn't hug each other.
I thought funerals were not permitted.
Well, it was a
still,
private
or-
thing. It was just them, and the thing.
So it's just
but
a
they
hand.
were-
Okay.
Yeah, it was literally just the 4 of them. So, but they could, and they're hanging out, and they couldn't hug it. It's like torture, like absolute torture.
It is brutal. We've had some clients actually. None of them from COVID, is my understanding, but I've had about 6 clients pass away in the last 2 or 3 months. There were elderly people with complications and so forth, but these families, they are torn. They're ripping their hearts out because they can't grieve. They can't grieve together. Some of them are isolated way away from the families in other states, and there's nothing.
Yep.
They can't do anything.
Yep. I know
It's
people
very
who are
tough.
going through like they're having babies, and
Yeah.
people can't come and get together or see the babies, or obviously loved ones are sick in the hospital and they can't go to see them. They may be dying in the hospital and they can't see them.
So,
it's
listener of the
that's very
show,
tough.
Brian Engler had to go to the ER for he had a whatchamacallit, a kidney stone.
Oh,
That's what Jen had a month ago.
Yeah, I just saw it on Facebook yesterday. I mean, we've known Brian for what now, 20 years?
Since the beginning, 2005, I think.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And he had a picture of himself in the ER with a face mask on, and it's scary to think if you need to go to the ER, that it's bad. It's a bad time to go to the ER.
Well, all right, but you got to be careful there, Jay, because first of all, emergency rooms know how to separate patients who have COVID-19 from those who are asymptomatic, at least.
Yeah.
And if you need to go to the emergency room, go to the emergency room.
Yeah, sure.
There's probably more harm being done by people avoiding the ER out of fear of COVID-19 than getting COVID-19 at the ER. There's a number of studies. For example, there are the number of people presenting with mild strokes is way down. I think it was decreased by 40%. I mean, I don't think that strokes have decreased by 40%, but just for the milder ones, people are just not going to the emergency room, you know, because they're afraid. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So, you know, we have to be careful. We can't create this impression that like you shouldn't go to the ER. It's a dangerous place. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. Yes, anytime you go out, there is risk, but you have to balance that against the risk of not going to the emergency room if you really think you should.
Well, Steve, give me an injury that normally you'd say, yeah, go to the ER, but now you'd say, nah, not worth it. Not worth the extra risk.
I mean, I can't give you any kind of blanket statement like that. The thing is, if you're thinking, should I go to the ER, and you're not sure, you should be talking to your doctor, right? So you should be calling more. And so the good news, I would say, is because of the freeing up of the telehealth thing, now, like, there's a lot of patients that are in that gray zone where I'm like, I'll just see him tomorrow. I'll have a telehealth visit with him tomorrow. It's just so easy to slip him into the schedule, whereas it would have been very difficult to do that before. So there's that middle ground now where it's like, oh, do I see him in the clinic? Do they go to the emergency room? Now I could do a telehealth visit very, very quickly and triage them and then decide, you know, if they need something. I just did that literally right before jumping on this stream with a patient, where I said I'll just see him in telehealth and then I'll triage that way. But anyway, you should
surgery, Steve.
You should be talking to your healthcare provider in those ambiguous cases. I don't want to tell people what to do in the abstract.
So like what about like elective surgeries? It's probably best to hold off on that kind of stuff.
They're not happening. Elective surgeries, they're just not
Okay.
happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So go to the ER and call your doctor if you have any question about anything.
I don't quite think that's what he said.
Go to the ER if you have to.
Yes.
And if you're not sure, talk to your doctor.
Right. So just call your doctor, you're saying, anytime you want.
All right.
Thanks, Bob. Bob, you are obsessed.
No, people are asking, show us the booty. So if
Kara's
people
here.
want us, if people want
Kara.
Oh, I know you. Kara?
Hi, Bob. Show me the booty.
Evan, you have to play along.
10 minutes ago, we did a whole thing of this, so you have to rewind. Unfortunately, they won't let me show my stuff twice in one show.
So Bob totally missed his cue.
Nice, thanks, Bob.
No
Thanks,
one
Evan.
does.
Way to go.
Bob was in the middle of it. It's like
I wasn't looking
done.
at the camera.
No, it's okay.
That's some funny timing right there.
That's good.
Yeah, we tried to play a prank on you, but apparently it was above Bob.
It was
Evan's
too complicated for Bob and Evan to pull
Oh,
off.
Standing
you were all
still
trying
was just-
to be.
yes.
I saw George trying to do it, but since you were the only one, I could tell that. Yeah.
But it was convincing, though, wasn't it? For that 1 second.
For that 1 second, I was like,
totally.
oh,
George, it
is
looked like
frozen.
you were having
George has
technical
a crappy
problems as the
connection.
day was long.
What an illusion.
I'm blown.
Hi, Kara. Yay.
So,
Hi.
Kara, how was the nap?
Oh my
yeah.
god, you guys! Like, I had one job today.
Yeah.
One job.
Welcome to the pandemic, motherfucker.
Has this happened to anybody else? Like, I know that you guys.
Yes.
Let me see. 2 of you are going to work every day.
Yes,
Or,
yeah.
or close to every
But
Man.
I had an
Work every
interview on Sunday night, and I was literally napping on my couch while the interview was supposed to be happening.
Yeah. Nice interview.
Yeah.
George,
So I did the interview on Wednesday, so I got it. They were
all right.
very understanding.
Yeah, but the question was, what did you say to them why you missed it?
Well, the next morning I'm going through my email, and they're like, "We're waiting for you." I'm like, "Fuck." I totally missed it. So then I just emailed them and
Did you
said
lie your ass off?
it was. I kind of blamed Mother's Day initially. But then when we were doing the interview, I'm like, he's like, "So what happened?" I'm like, "I gotta be honest with you, I just fell asleep on the couch and didn't wake up until the next morning."
So
Wow,
George,
Steve, you don't lie about anything, do you?
George had a
You can't
live
even-
stream. Listen to this one. George had a live stream. I texted George right before I thought he was going to go on, like saying, "Hey, good luck tonight." Right? George is like, "What? Good luck for what?" I'm like, "For the thing tonight, the online thing." He goes, "That was last night." And then it ends up I was off by over a week, and then George said That's on Friday. I mean, I didn't even know what day of the week it was. I was confused that it was Friday. It was actually Saturday.
You need that day of the week clock. Yeah.
You were 8 days off.
8
Literally, you missed it by 8 days. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Good luck tomorrow. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So, someone who was telling me, our friend Celeste was telling me she bought a clock for her mother, I think, that counts the days.
Yeah, the day.
It's
the
a
day
clock
the
of the
clock.
days. Yeah.
I've
day
been
clock.
meaning
That's
to
it.
get one of those for my mom.
Yep.
See that?
And when it's Sunday and she's like, "Is it Friday?" Like, you need a day clock.
Yeah.
I mean, why else? Why do you need to be more granular than that when you're 83?
Mhm.
So I have something else that's going on. So my wife and I have been operating mostly as vegetarians during the
Mhm.
Oh
pandemic.
wow.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm a meat person. I love eating meat. Meatballs are like, a holy part of my holy sacrament, for crying out loud. But we've been
Dave,
extraordinarily.
I have 12 meatballs in my freezer right now.
Take, eat. These are my balls.
I had them,
my salty balls,
and I'm eating them tonight.
So it's been weird because I'm craving meat like crazy. I don't feel full from just eating vegetables and stuff. It just kind of feels like I feel like a stuffed turkey with an empty stomach. It's weird,
Yeah.
like I just want to eat something like meat. And then the few times that I had a real meat dinner, I was in ecstasy. It was amazing. Like I was just like, oh my God, was that amazing or what? She's like, what? No, it's just meat. I'm like, it was meat.
Well, we're doing the same thing because there's just 3 of us in the house now. My older daughter's at college, so it's my wife and I and our younger daughter, and she decided that she wanted to be vegetarian. So we want to encourage her, to forge her own way in life. So if you're cooking for 3 people and one of them is a vegetarian,
Guess what?
you pretty much we're cooking dinners. Dinner time it's either 100% vegetarian or it's a dish where the meat could be optional, like the meat's on the
Like
side.
pasta. You just
Paella
throw it
is
on
good
top.
for that, by the
Optional
way,
meat
Steve.
What's that?
Paella is perfect.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
leaving
right.
meat
So like
on
if
the
we
side.
we can make like a vegetable stir fry, I just do the chicken separately, or a salad. You could have your protein or not have the protein.
Have your protein.
But most of our meals now are vegetarian, which is fine. There's a lot of good dishes.
How are you getting your protein?
So there's a lot of protein in cheese, and I'm
But yeah, so she's good. So she's not good, but so it's much harder to be vegan than it is to be
she's not
vegetarian.
vegan,
hell yeah.
and she'll
Yeah,
eat
you have to
fish.
think a lot.
So often she'll have
okay.
fish when we have our meat, like a straight up meat dish. Yeah.
I have never had so much food in my house because I used to I would buy for like one meal a day, basically. And go to Wegmans on the way back from the gym every day. And now it's like I'm shopping for 9 to 15 days at a time. And so there is so much food in my house, which is so weird. Like
it's
every
dangerous,
corner,
man.
It's totally dangerous. But I think that's something that might stick through it when this is all done. Like I might be able to be like, you know what? It's okay to have more than 8 hours worth of food in your house. You can do it. You can do it. We'll see.
We have about twice as many staples in our house as we typically do, which is usually a lot.
Yeah.
I probably could coast for a month on the food I have in my house if I had to.
You eat staples? Ew, doesn't that like get your oh my God.
Guys, I mean, our dad, like 5 years ago, bought this army ration, dehydrated food. So we got all these
Patriot
packets,
rations. Yeah.
Patriot rations. We got box upon box of this food.
Freedom bags.
The 3 of us could probably live for, I would say, a couple months on this food. We tried it. We tried one dish and it sucked.
Yeah, I was
Of
gonna
course
say
it sucked.
Yeah, but
I mean, like worse than I thought. Even worse than I thought. And I'm like, well, we're in a pandemic, and
it's
all
only
this
for
stuff,
when you're starving.
But we're not even at the point where we even need to think about touching.
Yeah, you don't have to eat
the
your
dry
neighbors
food.
yet, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth. That's my superpower. Tell the truth. I'm gonna eat my neighbors. I'm gonna eat them. I'm sorry.
MRE. Yeah, MRE.
Comes out of my
Meals
kids.
ready to eat.
Oh my God!
I've
No,
been
not
doing-
my kids, my daughters, and he's got
just
a
my
son, but
daughters.
he only
My
mentioned
son's
he
gonna
doesn't
be
care about
my
his
son's
son.
on his own. My daughter.
I've been getting a CSA box delivered every other week, and I'm loving it. I highly recommend it to anybody who lives in a place where they can do CSA, because it supports your local farmers, especially those that are kind of screwed because the restaurant industry is collapsing and they're not, able to find people to sell to. But B, what I'm finding is that I'm eating stuff I never ate before because
Good stuff, bad stuff.
No, good stuff. Like, because usually when I go to the grocery store, it's like I buy the same, not the same 5 things, but like my vegetables are usually snap peas and green beans and carrots, and like I have my things that I like.
Sure,
and
we
so
all
now
have
it's
that.
like I get a whole artichoke, and I'm like, ooh, I guess I got to learn how to cook an artichoke.
Oh, it's so easy to cook an
You know?
artichoke.
Oh gosh.
And I love them, and it's great, but I
He
never
might have
think of-
choked Artie, but he's not going to choke me.
So in case anybody is interested, I have finally written down my meatball and my homemade tomato sauce recipes.
Hold it up to the camera so we can all read it.
And if you're interested, I can email that to you, or I can expose you to my Google documents.
To your balls.
Yeah, I had
Jay will expose you to his balls.
It's funny because it all started on the SGU Patreon. They wanted my meatball recipe, so I started it. And then some listener emailed me and wanted the sauce recipe, and I'm like, all right, give me a couple of days and I'll do it.
Oh, well, Jay, there have been some requests for an SGU cookbook. And I think that would be a great idea.
Can I get in on that? Can I get in on that? I have tons of recipes.
Yes,
Oh my God.
absolutely. Because
I have
think about
like
it,
3.
among the 6 of us, and each recipe could have like a skeptical lesson to go along with it or something.
Oh, I like
That's a great idea. Now, wait, if we do
Of course,
this,
it's a good idea.
I would, I'll
Good
get
idea,
serious.
my lord.
Steve, let's talk to our publisher because I think we could have a ton of fun with this.
Yeah.
But if we do it, we have to cook the recipes and take pictures that go into the book while we're cooking them, right? Yeah, not just stock photos. Let's take real pictures of us making them. And yes.
Hey, Jay, I challenge you to a meatball off.
What the hell does that mean? Eating or cooking?
Cooking. You cook yours, I'll cook mine. Everybody else judges.
Everyone else judges?
And we
What
could,
kind of meatballs do you
I mean,
make,
there's
George?
so much
Delicious
potential for
ones.
fun in doing a
Delicious
cookbook,
ones.
you know?
What kind are they though? I mean, are they for sauce? Are they for?
Yeah, I cook them in the sauce. Do the whole, the red sauce meatball, meat based meatball thing, kind of Italian sort of deal. Yeah.
Oh, George!
I know.
I don't know how. Oh yeah, I recognize that.
Mom's meatballs and pasta with parmesan. on it.
No cheating. Can't be, you have
George,
to make it.
consider that
You're not
a
your mom
bet
make it.
taken.
I'm not going to make
Awesome.
it. I'm going to
A
eat
bet
it.
taken. Now the question is, when we do this, will we get to eat our own meatballs, or we only eat each other's meatballs?
Stop
Really?
this. No.
We
Jay likes to eat his own meatballs.
Yes, we can. If we can get flexible enough, we'll be.
All right,
awesome.
now we.
That would be a great like one-liner, like in a movie or something. He eats his own meatballs. What does that mean exactly?
I'm sure it's actually happened at some point.
George, post-pandemic,
Yes.
this is a thing we'll do.
Let's
I
do
would
it.
love to do that.
Let's do it. We'll set up we'll do like hot plates in the studio basement. We'll do it live. You cook, I cook. We have I think it would be so great. So great.
Yes, I totally love this.
Okay.
I love it. All right, so let's do George's game. or
George's
his,
questions.
Questions.
Oh, George's questions.
So now
What's that?
can everybody
Watch.
everybody that's watching the stream, they can see all of us,
Oh,
right?
you
Not just
asleep,
the
Kara?
person talking.
Yes, they
Yeah.
can see all
No,
of
they
us.
can see all of us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a game
Everyone.
that's called Always, Never, Sometimes. I'm going to ask a question,
Always,
and you
never,
guys,
sometimes.
using your thumbs, are going to respond always, sometimes,
Oh.
or never.
Okay.
Sometimes, never.
So these questions are first-person questions like, I do this, and you will say always, never,
Oh, sometimes.
or sometimes. Or never. So yeah, always, sometimes, or never.
Never.
Do we have
Sometimes
to
can
use
be
always, sometimes never.
Sometimes could be no thumb. It's fine. Yeah, sometimes can be no thumb. But yeah, but it's always, never, and then sometimes.
Here we go.
All
All
right.
right, I like that.
I would
I got
suggest that you watch each other's responses, and if you think
Oh, boy.
someone is being untruthful, you should call them out on
Better
it.
concentrate
Okay.
on this.
All right.
All right. So there's a ton of these, but we will get through a bunch here. So here's the first one.
Kara's lying.
Remember, it's
How did
and
you know?
for those of you at home, if you're sitting next to someone and you're both watching, or you want to, or if you're at a watch party, you can do this as well.
And
Wait,
just
George,
this hand or
Somebody
Yeah.
named the meatball thing. Balls
Yes.
out. Balls
That's
out.
it.
2021.
Balls out 2021.
Oh my God.
Perfect.
All right. Sorry to
Done.
interrupt,
Done.
brother.
Live on streaming.
How you doing, Kara?
Yes.
Live streaming meatballs. Okay.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Sort of.
Always, never, sometimes. I leave at least a 15% tip when I eat at a restaurant. Nice. I will momentarily park illegally, but use my hazards.
Park.
You don't live in LA.
There's
Nice,
that.
Bob. I like Bob's thumb. Perfect. Oh, here's a good one. After sleeping at a friend's house, I make the bed in the morning.
Actually, I should say sometimes.
Okay. I check my bank balance after taking cash out of an ATM. Oh, okay. I obey the speed limit. Oh, you're all truthful. I love it. That's nice. At the top of an email, I always first type the person's name to whom I am writing.
You mean in the subject line? Or the line of the body of the email?
In the body of the email, yeah.
In the body of the email.
Yeah.
Wait, why?
Sure.
Steve, always Steve.
Well, I mean, all right. So can we is greater than like 95% always consistent?
Statistically, always.
Statistically,
like if I haven't done it once, I have to say sometimes.
Well, I could call up your emails right now and look at your.
When I initiate the email, if it's like 3 or 4 deep in a chain, I may stop doing it.
Well, that's not the question. Is if you're 3 or 4 deep in a chain. Oh, here's Steve's last email. Join Zoom meeting.
Liar!
Here's Steve's April 27th.
Backwitch.
Right. Steve's April 24th. Yes. Read below.
Steve, you are so robotic.
George, you didn't come prepared for that one, did you?
Okay. I change light bulbs as soon as they burn out.
That's right, George.
Yes.
That's impossible.
Not the second.
I mean, as soon as you notice it's out.
Oh,
not,
okay.
not
as
that
soon as
second.
Right.
As soon as I have the right light bulb, like I don't wait. If I see a light bulb burn out and I have it, I'll change it. Otherwise, it's like Amazon, go get it, change it. I hate
That's the right way to do it. The way I do it is it has to marinate for about a year.
Make sure all the juice is out of it. Make sure all the possible light is sucked out of it.
Yes.
Yes. Very good.
There's some redundant lights. I mean, you don't sometimes like, all right, I could wait 6 months.
I literally dated a guy once who had one light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he had a very he had like a very small
personal
apartment, and he would it was in a lamp though. It wasn't like he would unscrew it and move it. It was like a lamp that he would like unplug and like move into another.
God.
Did you get him a flashlight for Christmas or something? Because that would be
bachelor apartment.
You need like a train lamp so you can carry from room to room. Old timey ghost lamp. Yeah.
Like kerosene.
We moved it.
All right. I put a container of milk or juice with less than half an inch of liquid back into the fridge.
Well, I live alone. I'm going to drink
What
it.
else am I going to do with it?
What do people do? They dump
finish
it.
it.
I see what you mean. I have kids though. Every drop counts, man.
I get that if you if you have a family that's rude or like you have a partner that's rude, but if you live alone, like get to it.
Okay.
You know, but don't forget though, if you're using the milk as a creamer in coffee, you don't need that much. So
or
that's like for one coffee.
Or if you have a second container of milk, why would you waste the last of the original container of milk? You're going to use that and then open up the next container.
And then add the second container.
Yeah.
Truth.
Okay, nice. All right. I cheat at sports.
What are sports?
I mean, I would say
is there an NA? Like I don't play sports.
I mean, any kind of.
Used to twirl baton, Kara. That's a sport.
How do you cheat at that?
I had to
You
think
tell
about
me
that
you're
for
the
a second.
baton
So,
twirler.
like,
You have a weighted baton or something.
I mean, have any of you
Yeah.
played golf? If you play
all
golf,
weighted.
you freaking cheat. I mean, that's just
Never played
man.
golf in my life.
Not miniature golf.
Come on.
No, but
Never.
Steve,
I
the
can beat
answer
you
though
without
is
cheating.
the times that I've played golf,
Knowingly cheat.
I wouldn't call it cheating. I was just like trying to keep up with everyone. Like,
Yeah,
dropping
okay.
my ball over there. Yeah, that's not cheating. I'm not hiding it, and the score doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, like times that we've played like ultimate frisbee, like whatever. There's this cheating doesn't ever factor in with sports with me.
I've watched these wonderful YouTube compilations of professional tennis players that they like call against themselves. Like, so a judge will call something in favor of them, and they'll say no, the ball was out. It's so I get such a high off the guys being so honest. And this is like high stakes professional tennis players.
Yeah.
And the guy will be like, nope, it was in. It was totally in.
Good
It's
for
like
them.
10-minute loops of it. I love it.
That's called
Mad
integrity.
respect.
Integrity.
Mad
I
respect,
agree with that, but I have
Yeah.
fudged at golf. That's my only exception.
All right.
George, Michael Henry Brown said that
Fudge.
so far every one of these prompts could be like the theme of an episode of Curb or Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
totally.
Skeptic Feld.
What else?
I have cash on me.
Well, it's in the other room, but yeah.
Like on your
Oh,
body
actually,
or
no,
like in
I've
my
got some
handbag?
here. I've got some in my drawer here.
Like you have cash available. You can grab
I
some.
have 20
George,
bucks.
watch this. Watch
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
My wallet is next to my desk. I have
Yes.
not had my wallet in a pair of pants or shorts or anything I wear below the waist. In
Jay,
2
what's in
months.
your wallet?
It doesn't even factor in.
It's not on me, but it's in
Yeah,
my
we have the
room.
same cash that was in there 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I have cash within arm's reach.
I don't
right
like carrying cash with me. I like plastic.
now. I hate
have,
cash.
I mean, it seems so bizarre to have cash on you
Yeah,
now. I have a bank. I have an awesome pirate skull bank, and every day I would put my coins in there. And after a year,
yeah.
I'd have like $200 in coins.
Yeah.
I've got my bank over there
Generating zero interest.
My bank it's almost full, but it's like 4 years. It's just so slow because I never have any change.
Yeah.
That will be a big change.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
you-
Coming up post COVID, you'll see less.
What, Kara?
So
cash
somebody,
transactions,
Steve, somebody
less.
brought up something interesting in the chat.
Yeah.
What about
Okay.
fudging D&D rolls or gaming rolls?
Oh, that's a really good question.
That's a good
Oh,
thing
boy.
to talk
Yeah.
about.
Maybe
I have
when
to say, I
maybe
never
when I
do
was
that.
young.
I never do
Oh.
that. And now that we're playing Roll20 online, you
can't do
can't
it.
because the roll is in
Yeah.
public for everyone to see.
they
But
secure
usually,
that.
usually when we play, the rolls are on the table, man. They're in front of everybody.
But in my lifetime, I will not say I have not re-rolled a critical roll behind the back of the GM because F you,
Yes,
GM.
Yeah, so you do cheat at sports.
So we had a friend.
Is
He would
D&D a sport or is it a pastime?
Yeah, some kind
He
of
would
activity
roll
with
the
rules.
die, right?
A
He'd roll-
ruled activity.
Yeah.
He'd roll the die, then he would pick it up and show you what he rolled. You know, he could, you do. Oh yeah, I rolled a 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, what the hell is that?
I know who you're talking about.
I know who that
I will
is.
not name names. They are still alive.
Funky die, six-sided.
Okay, Bob.
Proud of you.
Of course you had a die in your room. So do
Oh, I got
I.
a big
I got one. I got one right
back
here.
here.
This is
pseudo
the
die.
die I use to randomize science or fiction. That's why it's
Very
sitting
cool.
right on my desktop.
Oh, nice.
This is it.
Yeah, then
George,
how
I have a
come
chance cube.
how come you always say, well, who hasn't gone first in a while?
No, randomize which one's the fiction. 1, 2, or 3.
Random.
That's good.
Yeah.
6.
All right, we got any more, George?
Oh yes, tons. I place the toilet paper on the roll so that it lays over the front, away from the wall.
Define toilet paper.
Like this.
You
Not
mean
like
the
this.
correct way? The correct way for
Top.
toilet
Oh,
to
boy.
be dispensed.
Away
Oh,
from the wall.
obsessively.
Goes
Away from the wall.
Not by
As
the
a matter
wall.
of fact,
Come closer to myself.
Yeah.
not in a
Okay.
public
Yes.
restroom,
I
but if
agree.
I'm in a friend's bathroom
Like-
and the toilet paper is arranged,
You change it.
incorrectly-
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, it's my OCD
I-
kicks in. I'm like, that's not right. That's
I
not
change the
right.
toilet paper. I take the medications. I
hell
brush
yes.
my teeth. I brush my teeth. I do it all in the bathroom.
Okay, here's 2 quick ones in a row. I wear a seatbelt when I'm a passenger.
Oh, passenger? I would have to say sometimes.
Fuck
I
yeah,
wear
man.
always.
Of
Always.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I
like
wear-
it's second nature.
I
Not in the
wear a
back seat.
seatbelt- I'm going to say that's the next one. I wear a seatbelt when I'm a passenger in the back seat.
Always.
So I'd say always
Well,
in the
it-
front. It's always in the front, sometimes in the back.
It's
Good for
not
you.
always.
I
remember-
always got it, man.
Not all
Guys,
back seats
yeah.
have a convenient.
It
you know-
doesn't
I also
matter. Do
think
you
it's-
want to become a
that-
projectile?
All right,
No, I
that-
think that's a generational thing too. Like when I was young, I didn't, but you didn't used to have to.
Right.
Like when I was really little, it was
Should.
not against the law to not wear your seatbelt in the back seat, and it
Yeah,
actually
but-
people didn't talk about doing it. And some cars didn't have them, but now it's like I think anybody born after the '80s would be like, you don't wear your seatbelt in the back seat.
And
Yeah, I
Kara, it's even worse when in the olden days when I was a kid. I
The
remember
olden
doing
days.
this. My dad driving, my mom in the passenger seat, and you know that there was a pull down armrest.
Yeah.
I would sit on that armrest. That was my seat sometimes.
front,
In
yeah.
the front.
Oh, that?
Of course, there's no seatbelt. That was
Yeah, that's called the
that's
human missile.
That's inconceivable. at this
That's
point.
horrible.
And if you're
we
in the
would
front
sit-
seat, if you're in the front seat and the person behind you is not seatbelted, you make them do it because then they will become a projectile that will go right through you, no matter what you're wearing.
Yeah.
They will go right through. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to learn why to wear seatbelts, you could do it very simply by looking at YouTube videos of car accidents.
No, nobody wants to do that.
I mean, my God, when you see a person get shot out of a car, like, and that's what killed them. That's what kills them is them getting shot out. You will put on a freaking seatbelt. So, Steve,
when I was
please,
a kid,
I love you too much, man.
My dad drove an SUV, like a Chevy Blazer, and there was always a fight for the seats, and I always ended up in what we called the way back. Did you guys have
that?
There was a way back.
And you're facing the cars behind you, and you got to make
the hatchback. That's not a seat.
That's not just an online thing. Yeah.
Steve, somebody texted, put it in the chat. Steve, you need to live.
Well, listen, having said that, I'm almost never in the back seat. I'm always driving, or if I'm a passenger, I'm in the front seat. The only time I'm never in the back seat is if it's with a big group of people, like in a van or something like that. And the only time I wouldn't put my seatbelt on if there really isn't a convenient seatbelt where I'm sitting. So it's almost never. It's almost never. But I can't say it was never.
When we were in Australia, I was shocked to learn that if a driver has a passenger in the car and the passenger is not wearing a seatbelt, the driver loses their license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? That's amazing. I was like, that's a great.
That's
that
hardcore.
really encourages everybody.
That's the case for Uber drivers too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this was again. All right. This is for the parents. I lie to my children.
Lie?
Of course.
I never do.
You never do. You have to.
Well, his kids are older than yours.
What about when they were young? I mean, lying is part of like making them. You got to like take advantage.
You know, like when you're telling them why they shouldn't pick their nose or why they should go to bed because Santa's coming, or
I never did. I never lied to my kids about Santa. I never lied to them about anything.
My daughter is.
I don't necessarily fully disclose every piece of information to a 2-year-old, but you don't have to lie.
Right.
Richard Saunders is watching. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
How are you, Richard?
Hey.
It was in Richard's car. Richard said, "Put your seatbelt on, you stupid yank, because I'm going to lose my license."
He did.
And when I say lying, I'm not like manufacturing reality, but I will detune things extraordinarily to the point where I would consider it a lie, because I don't want to talk to my daughter, who's 4, about these, shotgun questions about death. I'm not going to be filling her head full of like horror stories and stuff.
Yeah, but you don't have to lie to avoid like harsh reality that they're not ready for yet. You could be truthful as far as it goes at their level.
Right. I would consider that a lie, though, because it's not really disclosing.
Like what?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, she's like asking me, like, here's what I would say to her. Like, she asked me recently about me dying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say yes or no. I said, oh, my God, Olivia, we don't even need to talk about that, honey. We don't need to talk about that at all. Don't even think about that. Like, I can't get into talking to a 4-year-old.
Yeah, but that's
death.
kicking the can down the road. That's not lying. But I didn't even do that. Like, if they ask a question like that, I would just make it just genericize it. Every living thing eventually dies. It's part of life, and it's okay. It's just a natural part of the.
Someone should write a song about that.
Yeah.
Well, and the
The
best advice
circle of life.
I mean, that from like a therapeutic perspective and an
George, help me
perspective
here.
is to just ask them what they think.
Yeah.
And then work with what they think, right? So that if they do, I know it's a hard conversation to have, but so if they're
I did that a lot
Daddy,
as well.
are you going to die? What do you think? Do you think one day I'll die? And then see what her comprehension is and see what she's ready for, basically.
Steve, what about like surprises though? What about like
we're not having a birthday party for you tonight.
Going to the bowling alley or something, or like that kind of a thing.
You like to parry.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm not big into that. I don't. I may tell them, oh, we got a surprise coming up. I'm not going to tell you what it is. That's not lying. Right. But the whole like deceiving somebody for a surprise kind of thing, I honestly think is one of those overrated things, to be honest with you, that is people who do it enjoy it more than the people it's done to, in my opinion. So I'm just personally never big on that.
I mean, we had a surprise 50th birthday party for my wife threw one for me. It was amazing. It was amazing.
She lied her face
now
off.
you know how Steve felt about it.
Yeah. Well, I think it probably also depends on.
It's a personal thing. I just don't.
It is a personal thing.
Yeah, Steve might not like being surprised.
It's not his bag.
Yeah.
Well, Steve is like, so amazingly truthful. Like because we have, without getting into details, there's plenty of occasions where I'm asking Steve a question. I'm almost certain I know the answer, but I'm just clarifying. And without fail, Steve never will take the easy road out. Steve does not tell white lies. He doesn't say stuff like, I'll get to that. Or he just says, nope, I didn't do it. Wow, you didn't do that? You send that email, Steve? Nope, didn't do it. Wow, that's great. Because I probably would have fuzzied the edges a little bit to make the other person think that I care. I don't want them to walk away. But Steve will tell you the goddamn truth, which I really respect. People said, somebody in the chat mentioned, well, what if your kid walks in on you when you're having sex with your wife or your
Never
spouse?
happened. Lock the fucking door. That's the answer to that.
But if they knock and they say, what are you doing? What do you say?
What if we don't have doors?
Get away from me, kid. You're bothering me.
I'm busy banging your mother.
Which honestly never come up. We were able to always.
Well, that's the problem, Steve.
That's a personal
problem.
Yeah. I mean,
it
it just
doesn't come up. You can't.
Yeah, go see a doctor about that.
Your emergency room. Okay, couple more.
Go ahead, George.
I keep pens that have stopped working in a cup on my desk.
Hey,
No room, got no
wrong?
time.
The
Got no
second
time for
a
pens.
pen
Don't
runs out,
worry.
it goes in the trash.
I
no.
go
All
like that.
right, but here's
Worse
why.
than that, Kara.
Watch.
When
It's easy.
When I have a
It's
pen
easy.
and it stops
None of
right.
these work. None of these
Wow.
work.
Wow, George.
All right.
That was more like a confessional.
So here's
than
the
a question.
thing. But here's an SGU pen, and I will get a refill for it. I refill pens and the thing is for $6.
But that's designed. Yes, right.
The thing is, the
Non-disposable.
refills are so much better than what
yeah.
the pen originally came with. You can get really good quality, nice refills without paying for a whole pen.
Yeah, but like a Bic pen, you're gonna.
But I don't use big pens. I use
no.
nice pens.
No, but
That's different.
George, I can. Go ahead, Bob.
George, when I'm writing and a pen dies, I almost invariably, unless it was a nice one, but 99.9% of the time, I break it and throw it. I get so mad. It's
Wow.
like, really, how dare you?
How dare you?
Because
How dare your
pen
ink
was-
dry?
You inky bastard, you.
Because nobody uses a pen until it's empty. Almost never.
Mont
It's like
Blanc,
it gets
baby.
clawed because they're cheap pieces of crap. So I just get so
Once it
frustrated.
starts to not write pretty anymore, you throw it in the
feels
trash.
good. It feels good to just break
If
it.
it
Well, you know
feels
what's
good,
funny that
do
you
it.
say that, Bob? If I'm going to I like T-shirts, and I have a lot of T-shirts. When a T-shirt has gone to the point where I have to get rid of it, I will tear it. So there's no question that I'm getting rid of it.
Jay, I do the
Oh,
same thing.
interesting.
Yeah.
I do a Hulk and I just rip right
Yeah,
out of it.
that's
I'm
fine.
never gonna
Sucks.
wear it again.
Yeah.
Old
Oh,
socks
that's
are
your
like that,
gamma.
too.
That's your gamma radiation fantasy right there.
Yeah.
Very strange.
But I do it because
Intentionally torn an article of clothing.
Yeah.
When
Kara,
do you
look,
get a
there's-
chance to rip your shirt off?
But there's
Right?
a pie
It doesn't
chart
happen often.
here.
When do you get a
There's
chance?
There's a percentage of shirts that are fine. You keep there's no problem with them. Then you have some shirts that are like, yeah, these are fine. I'll sleep in them, whatever. And then you
Paints
have
the
shirts
house.
that you don't want to
Yeah.
get rid of because you've had them for a long time. There might be some sentiment. And those are the ones that every once in a while, when I'm in a bad mood, I'll go in, I'll just get rid of all the old shirts. But I have to
Yeah.
rip them because if I just throw them away, I will pull them out of the garbage.
No, you donate
That's-
them.
Jay, that's one of the
Donate
questions,
them.
actually. That's one of the questions. I wear clothing that is older than 10 years.
Oh, hell yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Not
That is
say
environmentally
I don't
responsible.
know. 10 more than 10?
A decade.
Yeah,
got-
come
I've
on.
got
You
a
have
few.
a T-shirt
Sure, I
from
got
some
some.
event.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
mean, I definitely
more than
have
10
some
years old.
clothes.
Very little, very
Yeah.
little. Somebody asked
Very
me to
little.
demonstrate ripping out of my shirt, which I will not do because I'm wearing my Goonie shirt. I'm not ripping this shirt. Maybe next week.
Evan, what did we used to do with our old T-shirts? You remember? Make spell packets out of them.
Yes,
yeah,
of
yes.
course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Packets?
We're LARPing.
For LARP.
Don't worry about
It's
it.
a spell
LARPing is live
packet.
action
Don't worry
role
about
playing.
Don't
It's
worry
about the size of a shot glass, and you fill it with birdseed,
I
and you put
don't
a rubber
have
band
one
around it,
here.
and people that cast spells throw them, and when you get
Yeah,
hit by
it's
it,
about
you know
that
that you got hit by the spell.
Wow.
In the early,
That's why he said, "Don't worry." About
And you want to know the first time I ever saw somebody make a spell packet? Perry was making
Perry.
one, and I didn't know him. And I remember him looking. Hey, let me show you. You get an old film canister case. All right. You put the cloth on top. You know, he's all pissed off. Perry always acted like he was more angry than he ever really was.
it was awesome.
All right, there's a funny story about that. So one of the guys who was playing the game with us, on the way to an event, he's got a bag with like 100 newly created spell packets in the bag in his back seat. gets pulled over by a cop because probably he was speeding.
Oh no!
Yeah, you know what's coming. The cop sees this bag of spell packets and
thinks it's drugs.
Thinks it's drugs. Made him open up every single one and show that there was just birdseed in there.
Wow. I don't know who's the bigger asshole in that situation. George, you got another one?
Yeah, one or two more. Here we go. I get paid what I'm worth.
Well, it depends on the job. So
Steve.
Here, I'll say maybe.
No, I do. I definitely do.
I would have to say sometimes because it depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think sometimes.
I say on average, like if I look at my average income, but
yeah. I mean, I am actually, I would love to make more money. Who the hell wouldn't?
There's something here, right?
But I gauge like what my job is and the quality of my job and the happiness that I get from my job versus what I get paid, and I feel fairly compensated. I mean, I've been working for the SGU now for 3 years. I haven't even asked for a pay increase since I started.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good point for Josh's bookish voyage. Grad students are underpaid. So it's when I do therapy, I actually don't get paid at all. So I would say in that respect, no.
Yeah.
But it all averages out eventually.
But I mean, George, we all do a lot of pro bono work. I mean, Nexus is pro bono like nobody's business.
I would say when you are getting paid, are you getting what you think you are worth? I think everybody would pretty much say.
Yeah, sometimes.
If not leaning towards it. Yeah. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be 5 thumbs down, but I read an actual physical newspaper.
I used to.
No. It's been.
What is that? What is that?
Right.
10 years maybe.
For me, it was about 2 years ago that I was getting the New York Times every day, and I like really worked hard. But the problem is, that's a full-time job. Like, I talk to people.
Reading the newspaper.
Read the paper every single day, especially a paper like the New York Times. Like,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, like how do you even do that?
No
For me, what I would do is I would read all the headlines and I would pick the handful of articles that I felt like were pertinent or that I needed to read, mostly front page stuff. And then maybe the Science Times I read cover to cover because that was only on Tuesdays. But, and I would do the crossword. I could usually do up till Wednesday completely, and then like Thursday, Friday was starting to get like meh. I do part of it. Yeah, I'm not amazing at that. But then eventually I realized like this is a waste of paper. I'm throwing so much of it in the recycle bin, and I'm having never read it.
Yeah.
Like
Online.
the Digital Times is better.
Plus my news, I digest my news like at certain times during the day. I'll take a news break and read the news. And like a paper is so yesterday, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing about a paper that is interesting, and the reason I wanted to do this for me was that is all the news that's fit to print, according to the New York Times. So instead of saying I only want to read about the 5 things I'm interested in, when you have a paper, it's been curated for you. So you're going to be exposed to stuff you never would have thought to read about. You're going to know what's going on in the world. You're going to know what's going on locally. You could
do that digitally though too. You could go on.
But most people don't. Most people don't go to the New York Times website and look at the top stories. Yeah, most people are just going to
BBC,
on whatever.
Yeah,
or Apple
just scroll
News.
through like what's in the news.
I do that with science websites, science news websites. I definitely do that with, but no other website, politics, sports, anything. I won't.
I use an aggregator for science websites, as I've mentioned before. I use a feed reader, so I have like.
I'll do that too. Sure, I'll do that as well. But I have no problem going to Science Daily and just get right to the page and start.
I used to buy the New York Times every Tuesday just for the science section.
Mm-hmm.
But that was years ago.
And the thing is, they don't offer that. They only offer daily, Sunday, or weekend. I wish that they would offer like bundles based on people's interests. Like people who only like arts, they could just get the day of the week that like the art section is big. Like, why not do a Tuesday only delivery for science nerds? That'd be cool.
The comics.
All right, here's the last 2.
Okay.
At an event where it's performed, I sing along to the Star Spangled Banner.
Sure.
Never,
I mean, I don't bellow it.
Right.
But I'll mouth the words. Sure.
I'll mouth the words. Okay. All right. And finally,
I'll mouth some of them.
I think about if there's an afterlife.
If there's an afterlife, I don't think I've thought of that.
Not
I
seriously.
have thought
in a long time.
It's been a while lately. I
Right now,
I
I'd
guess
say
I'm
never.
down.
Not seriously. I mean, thinking about it, but like,
I'll have time to think of that when I'm gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I mean, it's more philosophical for me. Like I think about like what would it be like if there were a God? Like what do I think God would be?
Well,
if God did
hypothetical
exist?
is different.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, no, thinking
I-
about, but I also
About that subject, about that topic.
Yeah,
I think about how science could create a type of afterlife, but
I just
not
feel like that
real
was
life.
it's
I
one
think-
of those things that for some people, sure, it's a daily journey, but for a lot of people, I don't know, it's like there's a time in your life when you're grappling with that a lot. But then
Right.
once you've kind of done that work, you just sort of like are where you're at until the next time something questions it or threatens it or whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
So I haven't
Yeah.
thought about, I mean, I do with my clients, but for me personally, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
So there it is. That was a lot of fun, George.
Yeah, that was a good
Cool,
idea,
George.
bro.
And we got
Well
like
done.
that's like 1/3 of them. I just have tons of questions like that.
Yeah,
Right.
those are really
Save 'em.
provocative.
More,
Should-
more, more.
Yeah.
Should we
definitely.
take some questions from the
Yeah, yeah.
viewers?
Yes. Yes.
Never.
Done that.
It's
No.
6:05.
Yeah, we can
Go
do
ahead, Ian.
20 minutes of questions.
Here's a question. Do you have any suggestions for communicating with someone that doesn't believe in scientific consensus because they don't believe in expertise?
Jesus Christ.
That's
Well, that's a challenge.
Well, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, the trick is to find common ground. So what's your common ground with that person? You know, that's
Yeah.
you should ask that question with them. What can we agree upon? Do you agree upon evidence? Do you think that that's important? Facts, logic, you know what I mean? So it's got to start somewhere. You got to build up to that, you know.
and
but
that'll
you've-
also help you understand their worldview
Yeah.
better so that
Yeah.
you can,
How do you decide what to believe in? You know.
yeah.
But there also has to be like, if the question is expertise, there are devices that person uses in their life that are built by someone, that are designed by someone. So like, do you watch TV? Like, do
Yeah.
you know how TV works? And an expert had to construct that television, or if they're a carpenter, or if they're into car repair, or if they're
If
into
your car
sports.
breaks down, who do you bring it to fix it?
Right.
Yeah.
Like
You know.
that's the connector in terms of like, okay, we have to agree expertise exists and it can be a thing. Whether or not someone has expertise is a different
Yeah.
question. But
But
concept
George,
of-
I think the problem is, and I don't want to be pulling this out of my ass as much as it might sound, but the level of
Yeah.
expertise that a car mechanic has versus the expertise of, a cancer doctor, like the
Oh, I don't know.
education
I don't
and
know. I mean,
it just, but the problem is it's the car mechanic thing is it's so much more tangible. When you get to a level of expertise, you're talking to someone like Brian Wecht, who's understands physics in a way that my brain can't even process.
right.
It's really into like, I have to just trust him in order to
That's how I
deliver.
feel about car mechanics.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's like if I'm using my phone, I could never understand what's going on in this thing.
Sure.
But
This
there's
is designed
always
by someone.
people, right? So I get this to some extent because I'm putting myself in somebody's shoes and using your car mechanic analogy, right? When I go to my car mechanic, there's a certain level of me going like, okay, that seems reasonable. This expert knows what they're talking about. I think that they're being honest. And there's a certain level of me that's like, I don't really trust you. I think
Yeah.
you're just trying to like take some extra money
Yeah.
from me. And I have to like find the balance in that and go, okay, screw it. At a certain point, I have to let you fix my car. And I could see that those seeds are what are happening in people when it comes to other areas of expertise.
No problem with getting second opinions on car repairs.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's complicated because there is a type of expert where I look at like people who have studied a topic for their entire life, and I know I don't even come close. But then there's certain types of things where I feel like I can Dunning-Kruger myself into it, be like, I feel like I know enough about that. We all do that.
Yeah.
And I think that the less tangible an expert is, meaning a car mechanic, at least you understand, hey, this broke, I got to replace it. That's very understandable. But when people are talking about things that you have no reference in your head to at all,
Yeah, like string theory.
right? Like
Mhm.
that is, it's almost magic to me. You know what I mean? I just have to be like, sure, whatever you say, I will believe, So there is a difference to me between like these types of experts and those types of experts, because some are understandable and relatable and some are just imaginary that I have to just take it all on faith.
But that's also because you have
that's where you start, though. You have to say
you have a fundamental appreciation of the scientific method. So those kinds of experts that you're talking about are generally science experts. The thing is, experts in chiropractic, experts in homeopathy, you don't believe them or trust them, and that's because you have a skeptical worldview.
I was just arguing with someone online, and they said
on Facebook, I would guess.
Yeah, we're talking about expertise. We just had this conversation.
Frankie.
And he goes, hey, I'm a pharmaceutical rep, and I work, so the scientists that work at my company are arguing with each other all the time. And I responded with, good.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do. That's that's part of the scientific process.
But they're not arguing about fundamental knowledge. They're arguing about how to invent a new thing, Yeah. It's completely different.
Or a new utilization of something.
Or whatever.
Also,
something nuanced.
Expertise in something that doesn't exist is not the same as expertise in, again, like, how to make a soccer ball. Expertise in, I'm an expert in flangology. You're like, well, what is that? That's
flangology.
But again, somebody could claim to be an expert in homeopathic medicine, and that does exist. Somebody can hold a bottle of homeopathic pills in their hand, so it does become difficult when people don't have a fundamental understanding of the science.
You have a degree in baloney.
I have a degree in homeopathy.
Yeah, but you can have an elaborate system of knowledge about something that is not fundamentally legitimate or valid. Like astrology. You could spend your lifetime studying astrology and being an expert at it, but it's all meaningless because there's no foundation. There's no fundamental reality to any of it. That's to me. That's always the saddest thing, when somebody spends an incredible amount of time and effort and investment in something which isn't real.
Well, and if you guys, we all know Britt Marie Hermes, who's
like
D&D.
Right
now.
Yeah, we know it's not.
That's real entertainment. That's different.
No, I'm kidding.
But again, I highly recommend, if anybody has never read Britt Marie Hermes' story or listened to podcasts with Britt, she's a perfect example. Luckily, she found out young, but still, she dedicated all of her academic kind of currency, like her physical money and a lot of the time when she was in her prime, to training to be a naturopath. And only after she was in practice and realized she was basically complicit in committing fraud did she, kind of, the wool was lifted.
Well, the other thing is that then she actually got her PhD.
No, she's still working on it.
Oh, still working, but she got a master's, whatever. But my point is, she got a real science education. And she's like, only then did I realize that the shit they were teaching me in natural was like high school level nonsense.
Oh yeah,
they weren't really even but they think that's a real medical education, but it's a high school level. The actual science that's being taught.
Confusing the way that a lot of pseudoscience is, where she said you'd literally go from gross anatomy lab where you were working on cadavers, trying to learn anatomy, to homeopathy class. And it's it was very difficult to know because it was all treated with the same level of respect. So you have real science mixed in with pseudoscience. But her situation, part of the reason I bring it up, what's so sad is that she's hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from going to an accredited university for a nonsense degree. And the only way that she is now able to study for her PhD is that she's in Germany, where her husband is a professor, because she's able to get a free education. But she's concerned that she can never come back to the US because she owes so much money and it's crippling her. It's such a sad thing. But that's what happens sometimes when people dedicate their lives to pseudoscience. It's they're in so deep, it's a sunk cost at a certain point for that.
Yeah. Next.
Somebody just said that, sunk cost.
One more question.
How do you handle major science and health educators pushing pseudoscience, and what can we do to combat it?
So, you have to confront them, I think, and you have to educate them. Most of the time, so there's two flavors. The minority are true believers, and you're not going to get through to them. But most are just not really aware of what's really going on. They've been sold a bill of goods themselves, and they're deferring to the experts who are not real experts. And you have to educate them about why that is pseudoscience. So interestingly, a lot of scientists don't really understand pseudoscience because it's really a different a different skill set. It's a different discipline. It's a different set of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so we have to teach, sometimes mainstream scientists about critical thinking and pseudoscience and all of that stuff because they don't understand it, and so they fall prey to it just like anybody else would.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you would think that, again, this is that whole knowledge deficit thing. I mean, that's like an extreme example of that. Even a scientist can fall prey to pseudoscience, and just having scientific knowledge in and of itself is not enough to protect you from it. You need the critical thinking skills. You need the understanding, the philosophical understanding, which many scientists don't have, and the logic, critical thinking, psychological understanding.
Remember that surgeon out of Hartford who was like helping with exorcisms?
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff you like. A surgeon, really?
But he was a true believer. That was just his faith. That was different.
Jay, real quick, Josh asked, has Bob or others read Sean Carroll's new book on the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics? Yeah, I'm reading it. The book is something deeply hidden. It's really good. I mean, it's Sean Carroll. The guy rocks. The idea behind it, I think we may have mentioned this at one point. The idea behind it was it deals with the many worlds interpretation. And it says the idea is that if you believe that in superpositions, like an electron exists in a superposition of all its potential locations, which is pretty much a consensus. I mean, that's pretty much a known thing at this
I'm
point.
a denier of that.
The idea is that if the electron can be in a superposition, then a human observing it can also be in a superposition. So basically, his idea is that reality is in a superposition, which kind of gives credence to the idea of this many worlds interpretation. But it's a fascinating look. I'm really enjoying it. The guy's just so dense with information. You got to really take your time and really absorb it. So I recommend the book by Steve,
I interviewed him on Talk Nerdy when it first came out. So, I mean, gosh, that was like almost a year ago now, right?
Yeah, it's been
a while.
Many months.
So, yeah, a few months because I was in my new house. But I interviewed him on Talk Nerdy. So if you want like an entree to that, just like an in-depth conversation about it to like get ready maybe for the book or whatever, you could look up that episode.
So, guys, if you like these shows that we're doing, tell your friends, give us a like on whatever platform you're viewing us on. And you can also give our podcast a review. That would definitely help get new ears to the show. Apple Podcast is still one of the biggest ways to get the word out. George, I loved the game, and oh God, Kara, you blew it. You missed the song.
I know.
The song was awesome, man.
Oh, George, you did a song?
He did an intro song.
An intro song, and it was awesome.
Do you have an outro for us, George?
Can I play us out? I can play us out if you
play
want.
us out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it out.
So goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. We'll be here next week. And give us feedback.
Wake up for it.
This is for Jay. Turn on my VCR, the one I've had for years. James Brown, The Timmy Show, same take by bad for years. I sit in my own car, same one I've had for years. Old batteries running down, and it ran for years and years. When the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around. When the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around.
George.
Yeah, George.
Make the best of what's still around, kids.
Absolutely.
That's all we can do.
Thank you, guys. We will see you all next week.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay positive. Stay positive, kids.
Hopefully COVID negative.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.